Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in other parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest around Arsenal. William Saliba has opened up that contract negotiations between his agent and Arsenal are taking place, and he loves being at Arsenal, so there should not be any shockers. Saliba is going to be an Arsenal player now and for the future. Gonna be diving into that, but of course Fabrizio Romano has also indicated that the next weeks are gonna be very crucial for Arsenal. Arsenal have already identified a target. At the moment, Arsenal will not accept any bidding wars still, but of course a couple of alternatives have been offered by intermediaries and agents. So we're gonna be diving into that as well. Facundo Torres is the name that Arsenal are talking about currently. Fabrizio Romano, they're confirming that the players come out and said, yes, Arsenal did want me before we went for the World Cup, and my club did inform me about that decision. So we will talk about that, Moussa Diaby and Declan Rice as well on this episode. So hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. I'm not asking you any questions about who should Arsenal sign. I know you're devastated and I know you're really frustrated. So we're going to be diving into straight into the latest, and then we will leave it at that. Until the end of the transfer window, I don't want to be any optimistic. I don't want to be any excited. It's either we sign anyone or we don't sign anyone, and at this point I really don't care anymore about this transfer window. But if you hit the like button for me, maybe I really care about that. If you just hit the like button for me and let's get this video to 600 likes, I just care about that, right? Because yeah, right. So William Saliba has been talking about his contract situations, and he said currently my agent and Arsenal are in negotiations. They are going on smoothly. I love being at Arsenal. I love being at the place, and I don't see myself and my future anywhere else apart from Arsenal. Now, Saliba is one of those contract, is one of those players that have problems with renewing their contracts. I think the agent wants more than 200,000 per week for William Saliba. Arsenal, of course, like we know, the policy is we are not overbidding, we are not overpaying, and we are not doing anything in excess this year, especially under Mikel Arteta and Eddie. So in my opinion, Arsenal should not give William Saliba 200,000 per week, but if he wants around 150,000, 160,000, maybe Arsenal could think about giving such an amount of money to William Saliba, provided we can give him such a contract 7 years or 6.5 years, right? So contract negotiations are going on very well. That has been confirmed by William Saliba. I reckon Saliba, Martinelli, and Saka will all sign new deals with Arsenal. So there is nothing to be afraid when it comes to William Saliba. Focused on Arsenal. He says, I'm focused on the football right now. I'm focused on Arsenal, and maybe later we will talk about the contract negotiations, but for now my agent is in constant contact with the club and there is nothing to be afraid of. Now, Fabrizio Romano has been speaking about Arsenal's transfer strategy in the last few weeks, and he said the next 2 weeks are going to be very crucial for Arsenal. Today is the 17th, and that means we have less than 2 weeks to the end of the window. So Romano has been giving us an update on what Arsenal are planning to do after failing to get Mikhailo Modric. Are we backing out? Are we still going? Are we looking at a couple of other alternatives and do that? And this is what Fabrizio has said. First and foremost, he has said Arsenal will take their time. They will not rush. They have been offered a couple of players by intermediaries. They have been offered a couple of alternatives by agents, but Arsenal will not rush. They will take their time. So that is the first indicator for me to show that Arsenal are not going to rush, and we might not sign a winger in January. I don't want to be very pessimistic and very negative. At times I actually want to be very positive, but I don't want to lie on this podcast. I don't see Arsenal now go out there and do a very big name like Mikhailo Modric, or do a very big deal like we were planning to do with Mikhailo Modric. So Fabrizio there says that this week Arsenal will decide on their transfer strategy after Modric. There are no concrete talks for any of the players mentioned yet. Of course, agents and intermediaries are offering solutions. Arsenal will take their time at the moment. So what Edu and Mikel Arteta literally don't want is to be forced into doing a decision or making a decision they actually do not want. They don't want to buy a player because they've missed out on Modric. They don't want to buy a player because the current situation at the club demands that. They want to bring in players that they see as long-term players. They see that fit into the long-term vision of the club, and I do understand that, right? I really do. Although many Arsenal fans at the moment will be desperate, they will be taking in anyone. I wouldn't take anyone. For example, Wilfred Zaha. In my opinion, I don't take Wilfred Zaha at Arsenal at this point in time. I've seen people twerking and flirting for Wilfred Zaha on social media, on Twitter. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. If we fail to get our main target, we should take our time, look at the market, assess the market. If the best decision is for us to wait until the summer, just like it was with Dusan Vlahovic, let's do that. There is a lot of time. If we don't win the league this year, we can win it next year. We can win it. This team is still very young, an average age of 23. We have 7 years with this team to win the Premier League and win it again and defend it and win it again. So Romano says Arsenal are unmoved about their transfer strategy. There will not be in any bidding wars at the moment, and they're not going to be paying any huge fees. Now, the problem is that all the clubs around Europe now know Arsenal are walking around with 95 million euros in their pocket. They're walking around with a big basket of 95 million euros. And all the clubs, all the targets we are actually going to be looking at are going to be in excess of 80, in excess of 90 million euros. And that's why many intermediaries right now are approaching us. That is why many agents right now are actually approaching us, because they know if a player is worth 60, 70 million euros, and you convince Arsenal to pay 90 million euros for your player, you're going to get a huge commission from the other club. You're going to get huge sign-on fees as well. You're going to get so many big things, and they also think we are desperate. Now, I want to make myself clear. Arsenal are not desperate. We are just in need. We're just short, right? And this was the same situation last January when everyone said, "Oh, Arsenal desperate or everything." Yes, we were in need, but we are never desperate. Under Mikel Arteta, we have never been desperate. When we want a player, that is the player we want. If we miss out on a target, then we move on and find a brand new target. So at the moment, I'm gonna say Arsenal will not be in any bidding wars. Arsenal will decide on who we go to next, and we've been offered alternatives as per Fabrizio Romano. These 2 weeks are going to be very, very crucial to our transfer strategy. So let's hope Arsenal identify a target, negotiate a deal, and get it done over the line. So in terms of alternatives and in terms of plan Bs, Fabrizio has been speaking about Facundo Torres once again. And the quote that Fabrizio has actually given is not from himself. The quote is from the player himself, talking about the situation at the club, what is going on, and what he knows or what he has been told by his own club, Orlando City, about moving to Arsenal. So he says, Facundo Torres reveals, Orlando confirmed to me that there were contacts between Arsenal and them, but then I left for the World Cup. We will see now how it goes, he told 90 Men. He says, I would love to play in Europe. It's a dream for me that I had since I was a kid, playing in European football. That is Facundo Torres, the young Uruguayan forward. Now, before all this drama that we've been talking about, before all the Mikhailo Mudryk drama, before all this drama actually set in, there were 2 players that were a priority for Mikel Arteta. That was Mikhailo Mudryk and Facundo Torres. Facundo Torres was always the plan B, and the plan A was to get Mikhailo Mudryk for as much as Arsenal could. And we tried, we went to the limits, we went to the end of the world to try to sign him. We went to the end of the sea to try and rescue Captain Jack Mikhailo Mudryk Sparrow, but we failed. And that is not our blame. That is nothing you blame Arsenal for. We tried our best. We actually failed. Now, there are a couple of alternatives that have been informed of, and some of those I've done a whole video where we've talked about Arsenal trying to sign alternatives, but Facundo Torres is the only player I didn't talk about in that video. Now, he's playing in the Major League Soccer with Orlando City. His valuation is around 25 million euros. It could escalate up to 40 million euros because every club now knows Arsenal have the money to spend. They will splash the money. They will get the money on the table. They will do anything it needs, to get a player in, right? So I won't be very surprised if Facundo Torres' price rises up to the 50s or the 60s currently. But he's a deal still that I feel if Arsenal wanted to do, it's a little bit doable. It's a little bit easier. I don't think Orlando City will stand in the way of Facundo Torres. Otherwise, if they were to, they wouldn't have informed him before the World Cup that we have had contacts with Arsenal and they would love to sign you, right? So this is another situation where Arsenal and the price will determine whether Facundo Torres signs for us or he doesn't. Player wants to move. Orlando City want to sell. Arsenal need a winger ASAP. The big question is he what we need? And I think that's what Mikel Arteta is always thinking when he's going into the transfer market, trying to do these deals here and there. He asks that question lots and lots of the time. Is he what I need? Right? When you look at Facundo Torres and look at Mykhailo Mudryk and look at Rafinha and look at Pedro Neto, is Facundo Torres in that caliber of players? Is Facundo Torres in that shell of players? In my opinion, no. He's actually not. He's still very young. I think he's very, very talented. But when you look at what Arsenal have been trying to do with the forward line, we're trying to buy a starter. We're not trying to buy a backup for Martinelli or Saka. Mykhailo Mudryk for 90 million euros, pure starter. Rafinha for 75 million euros, pure starter. Pedro Neto for 60 million pounds, pure starter. So I think what Mikel wants is someone who can come in, put pressure on the young boys, but eventually will cripple and find his way into the starting lineup, just like Jack Grealish, at Manchester City. So Facundo Torres coming in at Arsenal, we are buying another Gabriel Martinelli. We are buying another Reece Nelson. We're buying another Emile Smith-Rowe. We already have that. We want something that doesn't exist in the squad. We want something that is not there. And that's why I feel like Facundo Torres should be a plan C. Now, I've seen a strong source in Germany claiming that Arsenal are working on their plan B, and Facundo Torres will come in as a plan C if the plan B fails. And because the story is from Germany, the plan B could be Moussa Diaby at Leverkusen. Because, of course, German sources do have that strong information and strong information sources from Germany and within Germany football, right? So Facundo Torres is the player that is leading the headlines today. I don't see it happen, in my opinion. Rather than sign Facundo Torres, I would recommend Arsenal to move on. Just move on, find a new target, find another player, do that in the summer, and then, try to hang in there. If we want to win the title, we just need to create that 15-point gap between us and Manchester City. Right now, it's 8 points. You beat Manchester United, you beat Manchester City, you beat Everton and Brentford. But within those 4 weeks, there could be a possibility that by the time we end those 4 games, it's around 10-12 points a gap. And then we will have an easy, straight 6 easy games where Arsenal are expected to win all of them, including Crystal Palace, Brentford, not Brentford, but Crystal Palace, the likes of Nottingham Forest, and a couple of other clubs in there. So after the first 4 difficult games, that is Everton, Brentford, Manchester City, and Man United, Arsenal will have a round of easy 6 games. If we can win those games, right, and create a 15-point difference on top of the table, then our transfer strategy should wait until the summer. Now, the other player that we are looking at strongly is Moussa Diaby. The story broke out yesterday that from Sky Sports Germany that Arsenal are now targeting Moussa Diaby. And this is what I don't understand. Arsenal wanted Moussa Diaby in the summer. The player was available for around, I want to get it right, it's around 60 million euros or 60 million pounds to be precise. And then Arsenal decided against signing Moussa Diaby. But remember, we wanted a winger. And we had the 60 million to splash on a winger, right? Now the players signed a new deal until 2025. Arsenal are walking in with a lot of confidence we want to get the deal done. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting because now Moussa Diaby with a long-term contract, he's going to be worth 90 million euros. We could have done this deal for 60 million euros. His numbers are legit. His style as a player fits Mikel Arteta's, scores a lot of goals, good in 1v1 situations, good at dribbling, good in tight spaces. He's a runner. I don't understand why we've waited this long to come in for Moussa Diaby again, right? But it's not a deal that is easy. It's not a deal to do in January. It's going to take a lot of money, and it will take a lot of convincing for Bayer Leverkusen to let go, okay? I think this one is one for the summer, but if Arsenal want to try in January, let's see how things will actually look like. And lastly, yesterday we broke the story. Declan Rice is Arsenal's summer transfer target. Priority summer transfer target. So as we had Gabriel Jesus this summer and Yuri Tillemans, we got one of them. Next summer is going to be Declan Rice. I don't know whether we'll get it done. I don't know whether it is we have priorities like all these bullshit companies are reporting. But what I'm gonna say is Arsenal, confirmed by the Athletic, the Ghana blog, and the Times, Arsenal will try to sign Declan Rice in the summer. Nothing more. I'm not giving away any of my opinions on these stories. I just leave it at that. See you soon.